You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
We are actually closing on number 16 tomorrow. All right, so we've been trying to close this facility for a long time. And what happened is that, attorneys got involved. So we had the seller's attorney got involved, and then also the my attorney got involved. And of course, when attorneys get involved, everything gets all screwed up, right? So we were supposed to close this facility probably like 2 months ago. And after like 2 months of back and forth with attorneys and stuff getting involved, finally we get to close this facility. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're closing on it's a $1.4 million facility, and it's in Carrollton, Georgia, which is a suburb west of Atlanta. And we're adding on 175 doors. And also there's a commercial building as well too that has 5 tenants in it. So we have a commercial building that we're adding to, and then a whole bunch of tenants and stuff. And so it's going to be a really good deal. I'm excited about it. But, closing a deal, like closing a storage facility or closing any property, if you guys know, buying real estate is not easy at all. It's exhausting. So we're in the final stretch of trying to buy that facility. So that will be number 16 for us. And so my husband and all of his team, if you guys don't know, I'm the one that my team finds the facilities and my team funds it. That's my job, finding and funding. And then my husband, his team basically takes over and manages it. So they've been gearing up to get ready to bring on all these new tenants. It's a severely mismanaged facility. You guys know that I buy severely mismanaged facilities, and it's supposed to be at around $1 a square foot. He's at about 50 cents a square foot. So we'll be able to double the value of the property, if not more, just by increasing the rates, but and then getting the economic value of that property up. The physical occupancy of this property is it's pretty good. He doesn't really have a lot of a vacancy, but the issue is that, with the mismanaged facility, getting the people that occupy the units to pay is kind of one of the hardest parts of owning a storage facility, right? And so, 80% pay and 20% don't pay. And I would say probably about maybe 60% pay and 40% don't pay, something like this. So we'll just have to, go through the process of getting them into our system, and then also letting them know there's going to be a price increase. And probably a lot of people will leave, and we'll also have to do a lot of auctions, right? And it takes a good couple of months, but I would say from now until the end of the year, it'll take us that long to really just, get all the contracts signed, get the auctions done. And we closed on a property. Actually, funny enough, is that we closed on a property this time last year, and it took a good 6 months for us to, just clean the thing up and get it to where we could get all the bad tenants out and start getting new tenants in. So it really does take some time with mismanaged facilities. That's not stabilization. Stabilization is when you get it to 85 to 90% occupied, right? That's when you can say, okay, I've stabilized the property. Really, the first 6 months of this property are just chasing tenants, getting them to get into the system, and signing the contract, getting them to be able to make payments, because you have to get their payment information. And let's see what else. And then cleaning the place up And on top of that, starting to auction off anybody that you can't get a hold of and going through the auction process for that. And we typically don't do an auction process until 90 days after we own the property. And it really takes a good couple months to even do an auction process. So that's why I say the first 6 months of owning a storage facility is it's kind of a lot of work. Just 1 second, my daughters. Okay, all right. So again, we're closing on that bill. We were supposed to close Monday, didn't close. Tuesday didn't close. Wednesday's today. It's probably not going to close. Cross your fingers. Hopefully tomorrow it'll close, but it should close within the next day or two. And so we're in the process of like wiring like $1.4 million over. That's kind of scary too, you know, with all the wire fraud and stuff. You know, so that's like a big thing. But I talked to like my attorney and I was like, I'm going to wire you $1.4 million. And he was like, okay, great. And I was like, no, this is a big deal. Like, there's a lot of money to wire over. He was like, Stacy, this is like something that we wire like every day. This is like not a big deal. And I was like, well, for me, it's a big deal because we're paying actually in cash is what we're doing. We're paying cash. So I raised enough money to buy this thing is what I did. And I raised that through our fund, which is the Self-Storage Fund of America. And the owner did not want to owner finance. So typically with a mismanaged facility, right, I try to really push seller financing. I try to get the owner to be the bank. But in this respect, the owner did not want to be the bank. He was adamant. He wanted to get his $1 million, right? He's going to make 1.4 million, but essentially he's going to have to pay taxes and stuff. So he'll make $1 million on the bill or whatever. And then once he gets his $1 million, he's leaving and he's moving to Costa Rica. All right, so he wanted to have that $1 million to retire and have that money for. So I couldn't get him seller finance. So I had to raise the money. So I did. I raised that through the Self-Storage Fund of America. And that is a 506c fund, right? So I'm going to just let everybody can see this. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I raised that money through the Self-Storage Fund of America. This is a 506c fund. So I raised it and the minimum was 25,000. 25K increment, like the minimum was 25K. So like when I pitched it, so I created a fund is what I did. And it's kind of like syndication, but it's really more like, you know, you're raising the money as like a line of credit. All right. And I did a 506c fund. The minimum was 25,000. It's for only accredited investors. Okay. And accredited investors means that you have $1 million of net worth or more. All right. So that is how this works. $1 million net worth or more. Okay. And so I basically from like, you know, the last couple of months or so, I've been like pitching everybody to give me money for this so that I could pay this in cash. To raise $1.4 million for me personally is not easy. It is not easy, especially if you're doing it in $25,000 increments. Think about how many $25,000 investors you have to have in order to raise $1.4 million, right? And this goes for syndication. A syndication is typically when you have one property, right? And you're raising the money for that one property. And a lot of times in syndication, what you're doing is raising enough money for the down payment. And like that person or that group is going to a bank and getting a loan. And the loan is more money than you have, right? So let's just say if I was going to buy this with the bank, it was a $1.4 million facility. And right now with a bank, you need 30% down, right? You're going to need 30% down, or unless you get an SBA loan, but SBA loans are very, very hard to get, you know, right now, because you have to buy 50 cents on the dollar. I probably could have got an SBA projected base loan for this. I really probably could have, but then I would have had to pay 10%. So an SBA projected base loan, just means that SBA is the Small Business Association. They love storage facilities. But the thing is it's a variable rate. So that means it's prime plus, it's essentially the prime plus 2% or something like that. So right now prime is what, like 5.5 or 5.7? I don't know what it is. I can't remember. Somebody can put it in the chat. And then you have to add 2% on that. And then on top of that, you're also have points, you have fees, and then the interest rate is like super high. So it's like hard to get the numbers to work for a loan. And it's really hard to get a projected base loan because you have to basically project what your income is going to be and how long it's going to take. And you have to do a business plan, you have to do a marketing plan, you have to do a whole bunch of stuff. It's not impossible. I've bought with SBA projected base loans. It's not impossible, but it's a lot of work. And so what I did instead was I created a 506c fund. And then what I can do, what that means is I can pool a whole bunch of people's money together in order to buy a property. And so this one I paid with cash, right? So that means I had to raise $1.4 million cash, right? So that's a lot of $25,000. Now, obviously they can, an investor can put in as much money as they want. They could put 100 grand or 200 grand. I have people that are putting $250,000 in, you know, or 100 or $150,000 in. But if you think about it, in order to raise cash to buy a $1.4 million facility, if people are just putting 25,000 or 50,000, which is typical, right? Because they're like, okay, I want to test you out, Stacy. I want to see if like you can really do this. If you can do this, maybe on the next deal, I'll give you more money, right? So I'm trying to build their trust. So they're putting in 25 or 50 grand typically. That is a lot of investors to be able to get to $1.4 million, right? So over the course of the last couple of months, I basically was just pitching and pitching and pitching. And I put in for this, I just paid cash. All right. But if I wanted to go and get a loan from a bank, SBA, when I would have to put maybe 10 to 15% down for this SBA loan, or if I had to get a conventional loan. Right? Conventional loans are a conventional loan is going to be like 25% to 30% right now down. And then maybe a little bit lower interest rate, right? But not really that much lower, right? So let's say SBA's interest rate is going to be maybe 8+%, 8 to 10%. And depending on the type of loan you get, depending on the lender, depending on your experience, this is kind of where you're at. And I would say conventional is probably 7 to 8%. Let's keep hitting this, okay, for a loan. Okay, so, and then I see somebody says, what, oh yeah, what's your opinion list? Okay, so basically, when I try to buy a $1.4 million facility, this is the thought process that I'm having. How am I going to be able to afford this? This is my thought process. And you have to always make sure that the numbers work with your financing, right? So basically what I said is that I can do a cash loan. Oops. And then I could do an SBA loan, or I could do a conventional. And then we could add right here, we could add another one right here, which is owner financing. Okay, when I'm thinking about how I'm going to buy this property, okay, this is basically this is the way that you're going to buy it, is one of these, unless it's a major, huge, big deal. If it's $3 million plus, you could do a couple of other different things. All right, you could do a couple of things. Because it's a bigger deal, you know, you could do it. There's something, but this is like, you know, this is us. We're trying to buy like our first properties, and a $1.4 million deal. That's really honestly not that much for a facility. It doesn't really get you that much. It got me 175 doors plus commercial space is what it got me. Okay. So if I'm going to have cash to buy this property, then obviously I personally need to have $1.4 million of cash. Nobody has this much, right? And so then that means, like, if I don't have it myself, right? Then essentially I can get it from partners, right? So I could say, hey, like we each put $400,000 on, or we each put 300,000, we each put $200,000 in, and then you can partner and you can create a company. Partners, which creates a company. And then together you guys can all buy this property together. Okay. And then, or what I can do is exactly what I just said. I can raise the money, right? So you can raise the money by syndicating, which is one deal, like one deal at a time. Or, oops, that's number 4. Or I could do a 506C, a 506C fund, which is for accredited investors. Okay. You create the fund, you create the PPM, you create the subscription, and then you raise the money. A 506C allows you to pitch to strangers. That's what it allows you to do, to raise the money. Okay. Or I could do a 506B. A 506B basically says that you can only pitch to your network. Right? You can only pitch to your network, and these are non-accredited investors, which basically means anybody else, right? But the rule is that you can only put in so much money of your net worth. I think, what is it, like 1%? I can't remember, or 10%? Yeah, no. Anyway, so it's like only so much of your net worth, okay? A non-accredited investor. So if you are a non-accredited investor and you have money right now, let's just say that you don't have a net worth of $1 million. You have like, you maybe have a rental property or something like this, or you don't have anything, but you do have money. Let's say you have $50,000 or $100,000. You cannot really go and just invest $100,000. That's all your money into like one deal, right? Like basically the SEC does not want you to do this because they want to protect you, right? But there are what you call they're called 506B funds. And a 506B basically allows you to put, $25,000 into a fund if you want to do that, or 50,000, depending on what your net worth is. And I get this question a lot too. I get this question is like, I'm not an accredited investor. I don't have a net worth of X amount of dollars, of $1 million plus, but I want to invest my money in a fund. And I always tell them, look for a 506B fund. And I've done 506B syndications before, but that is where you're going to be protected. You're going to be protected is in this type of a deal right here. And that's actually the fund administrators or the fund managers are going to be protected as well too. So, but I could have gone and done any one of these routes. I could have used the money myself and used my own money. I could have partnered, right, and brought money in somehow that way, and then formed a company, and then we could have all gone and bought this property together. I could have syndicated the deal myself and said, okay, this is that one deal that I'm going to be syndicating, right? And I'm going to raise the money for this. Okay. I started a 506C fund, which means that I can pool everybody's money together, and I can also pitch to strangers, right? So you guys, like, I'm allowed to talk about my fund to you guys, even though we don't have, we don't know each other, personally. Okay. Or it's a 506B fund, is a non-accredited in network. So let's just say you have like a lot of people in your network that have a lot of money, and they've all said like, yeah, if you do something, I'll put some money in. You could do this as well too. Right. So this is these were my options. These were my options for cash. So I was like, okay, well, what other options do I have? The other options that I have is the SBA route, right? SBA, you typically have a 10 to 15% down payment. Okay. And the 10 to 15% down payment, and then you have the interest rate, which is going to be prime plus whatever, to 1, 2, 3, 2, that's a 2, maybe 1 to 2%. Okay, interest rate. And then you're going to also have all these fees. Like SBA has like a ridiculous amount of fees. Like we closed on a deal like a couple of months ago, and it was like $70,000 in fees. So it was like a ridiculous amount of fees. It was a $2.5 million facility, but it was a lot of fees. Okay. And yeah, let's see what else. Down payment, interest rate, and then like, you know, term, like length. Right. And the length of the loan, it could be a fixed rate for 20 years. There could be a balloon at 5 years. Well, you know, you could be amortized over 10 or 20 or 30 years. Like I have a student right now that is getting a loan. It's a 10% interest rate. It's fixed for 30 years. Could you imagine? That's a hard money loan, right? But that is what SBA is doing. That is really what that is looking like right now. It's like a fixed rate at like prime +2. But you know, like it's, you know, it's a long-term loan. So anyways, this is the SBA right here, and SBA is variable. The interest rate is variable, just so you know. It's a variable interest rate. Okay, now conventional is where you get the fixed terms. Okay, conventional is where you're going to put 25% to 30% down. Or more sometimes. I see hard money lenders really kind of want. I could add hard money lenders here, but conventional is 25 to 30% down. And then the interest rate is going to be like, it's going to be between 7 and 8%. Okay, 7 and 8. Right now, this is right now. This is not a year ago or 2 years ago, and this could change in the next year. But this is right now. Okay, 7 to 8% interest. Fixed. Okay, and then the fees, and then there's fees, but it's not really too bad, honestly, with the fees. And the length is the fees are high here, fees low, and then the length is going to be like 20 years, right? Where this one is going to be, this one most likely will have a balloon too. Okay. But sometimes you can get fixed on SBA loans. This just depends on the lender. Okay. So these are the terms for conventional. All right. And then owner financing, right, is where you get the owner to be the bank. And a lot of owners are really open to this. So if you're not offering owner financing, then you're missing out. We're getting a lot of deals owner financed right now. And the owner financing is the same thing. Right? Owner financing is like, you're going to have a down payment. It just depends on the owner. We typically start with 10% down and we'll go up to 20% down. That's kind of where we're at. So we have a deal right now that we're in the process of getting owner finance. It's $1 million. It's $1 million purchase price, and the owner wants 20% down. And then they'll owner finance the rest at like 5.5% interest, which is a very, very reasonable interest rate, right? So you have a down payment. It could be anywhere from 10 to 20%. Oops. Okay. And then the interest rate is typically lower, right? The interest rate, you want to start with a lower interest rate when you're doing owner financing. So you're going to be at like anywhere from 5 to 6, maybe something like this, 5 to. I've had a couple of people say 6.5. They want to be at 6, and they go, "Oh, the interest rate, that's a good deal." But like, if you can get 5 to 6, my interest rate for all my owner finance deals are like 4.5% interest. Now we actually know that's not true. I just closed on one actually a couple months ago in Florida, and that one was like 6% interest. Okay, so the highest I had is 6% interest. So shoot for 5 to 6% interest. All right. And you can also amortize these. So interest rates can be amortized, right? So that means that it could be, you know, you could spread it out over a 20-year period or a 30-year period, right? So you could do for SBA, it's typically going to be 20. And then for conventional, it could be up to even 30 sometimes. I mean, the 20 to 30 is good. And this is typically around 20%, but you can go up to 30%. I mean, we talk to owners all the time and we're like, look, like we'll pay, like this is the thing, it's like we'll have an owner like this $1 million one. We'll have an owner, like we run the numbers and the value of the property, let's say, is like $850,000. And that they want $1 million. This is typical, right? This is very typical, okay? So then we'll say, look, okay, if you own or finance, we're willing to pay a little bit more. If we pay you $1 million, we want a lower interest rate, and we want that to be amortized over a 30-year period, right? And the reason that you do this amortization over a 30-year period is because you really want your monthly payments to be lower. So yes, we'll pay more money for that property. We're okay with paying that, because the truth is like, you will pay less money for a property if you can get that property owner finance, and you can get these terms really kind of fixed and worked out, right? And you can look at your cash flow. You can typically get a better deal in the long run if you get the owner to owner finance. And the good thing about getting an owner to owner finance is you just educating them, letting them know that, look, if I go to a bank and get a loan, I'll be paying the bank all the interest. Why don't I just pay that interest to you? So not only am I going to be paying a little bit more for this property, on top of that, you're going to be making money on this interest as well. And that's kind of how we go about talking about it. And we explain and educate them. And then also in our offer letter, we make sure that we share that. We are sharing the offer letter, okay? So we're sharing the number. Actually, this is what we're sharing in the offer letter. I'll kind of give you an example of that here in just a minute. But so the owner financing, I mean, the truth is like, do you want to pay the bank that, or do you want to pay the owner that? And why not just make the owner wealthy? Why do you want to make all the banks wealthy, right? And that's kind of what I tell all of them. And so, you know, you just kind of have to educate owners, because a lot of owners don't understand these concepts as well too. But so then you can get that amortization, you can get it longer. You could say, look, at 20, you know, if I pay you 6% interest over 20 years, my mortgage to you is going to be this, but my cash flow is not going to be enough for me to be able to run this property. So why don't we amortize the mortgage that I have to you over 30 years and decrease it just a little bit so that I have this better cash flow? And that's really the purpose of using the tool for amortization, right? So that you can get that mortgage down, so you can get your cash flow higher. Okay, so figuring out your interest rate and figuring out your years of amortization is like super key in what your cash flow is going to be. Okay, and so that's like a big tool. So, and then the link here, owner financing is really like, you have to talk to the owner and say, you know, how much time do you need, or do you want to give me in order to stabilize this property and hold on to it? And so, for instance, I just had a coaching call with a student right before this, and he's talking to an owner right now and getting an owner finance. And the owner is like, I want 10 years. Like, I want that monthly payment every single month. And that the owner understands the concept that like they're going to be getting paid every single month for doing nothing, right? Instead of giving it to the bank, why not give it to the owner? And he's like, but I really want, you know, I want to make, you know, $4,000 a month. You know, I'm used to making right now $8,000, you know, because I'm managing it myself and I'm doing everything myself. But, you know, I'm okay with $4,000. Run the numbers and try to get me to where I can make $4,000 a month. And so the monthly payment is super important for owner financing and for talking to the owners. And then the length is going to be really either 20, you know, it could be anywhere from 2 years to, I would say typically it's like 2 to 15 years. But I have, let's see, I have one that's a 12-year and I have one that's a 2-year. I mean, I haven't began it. I have one guy, I was like, you're going to have to owner finance this to me. If you do not owner finance this to me, I can't buy this because there's no bank that's going to finance it, because it was so severely mismanaged. And he's like, fine, I give you 2 years. 2 years, that's what I'm going to give you. And I was like, I'll take it, and so that gives me 2 years to really get in, stabilize, and then in 2 years, right, I'll be able to create tax returns that I'll be able to show to the bank and hopefully refi out in 2 years. Okay. And so that is really kind of the you can talk about all these terms, you can really convince them for anywhere. So I would say like 2 to 15 years is typical for owner financing, right? 2 to 15 years is kind of what's typical. So in the case of me buying this $1.4 million facility that we're closing on, like I went through this, not only like as we're running our numbers, but also with the owner as well too. And I trying to convince the owner, to get me to owner finance, and making the offers and showing the numbers that way versus doing the cash or going to the bank and getting loan. And so I basically internally, I was just like, what, I could raise $1.4 million. Let me try to raise the money. I'm going to put it into the fund and I'm going to raise the money myself. And so over the course of the last like 6 months, I've been pitching and pitching and pitching. So raising money, if you want to do a lot of deals, a lot of storage, facilities or whatever, any type of property, if you want to buy a lot of property, a bank is only going to help you so much, right? And the truth is interest rates and banks are just not working right now. They're just not working. Now it's very, very hard to get bank financing right now because the interest rates are so high, plus the owner's purchase prices are so high that that numbers are just not meshing well. So like to get a bank to finance, and what I've noticed too is when I talk to banks and we find like a bank, we find a deal that would work with the bank, the banks are like, they're eager to work with you. Like they're trying their best. Like I'm working with a couple of banks right now and they are fighting over me right now. I'm at 7.135. I'm at 7.2.1. The interest rates are going down. It looks like your down payment, everything's going to be changed. And they're literally on a daily basis, like letting me know before, because you can't lock your rate in really until a certain time, like what the interest rates are and stuff like this. So if you can find a deal where a bank is willing to finance it, you can definitely push and negotiate with the bank right now because they're not closing hardly any deals. It's hard to close a deal right now. So all these lenders are like super hungry for deals that actually work with them. Okay. So, but in this case, me personally, where I'm at, I just said, you know what, I'm going to just raise the money. I'm going to do a 506c. I'm going to raise the money and I'm going to buy this thing with cash. The numbers look amazing with cash, obviously, because it's cash, right? So like, I'm just like, let me just see if I can raise the money. So over the course of the last couple of months, I've just been pitching and pitching and pitching and pitching, and raising money is not easy at all. It is not easy. But the truth is like if you're consistent with it and you're talking to investors on a regular basis, then you're going to start getting into this kind of like like I don't know what it is, like a routine. Every Thursday I pitch my deals every Thursday except for the last couple of weeks because I've been on vacation, and that is how I'm raising the money. And so everybody knows that if they're interested in working with me, they can just hop on my pitch every Thursday. I don't know if you guys saw the post that I had in the Facebook group. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, it's the Super Simple Self-Storage, Facebook group. And I posted out like a couple of weeks ago because I just happened to be like looking, like setting something up in my calendar. And I have had since 2020, when I started using Appointment Core. So I use Appointment Core to set all my appointments. I've had over 3,000 meetings. 3,000 meetings in the last 3 years. That's 1,000 meetings a year that I've had. And with those meetings for me are investors. I meet every week. I'm meeting with several investors. I meet with my coaching students, and I'm coaching on a regular basis. I meet with my team almost on a daily basis. I'm meeting with somebody in my team to do, have meetings, and then owners. I meet so much every week. Like right after this session, I have 2 owners that we're meeting. And so like, I tell everybody, if you want to raise money to do deals, how many meetings are you having? do you have times that that you can pitch, your deals or whatever you're doing? Like, so consistency is key in raising money. So every Thursday, 1 o'clock, I pitch all my deals to see if I can raise money. And I'm having a lot of meetings to do this, right? But I raised the money, I raised cash for this deal. I'm not going to get into the numbers and stuff. Once I close on the deal, actually close on it, I'll get into the numbers. I'll show you guys the deal and stuff like this. Maybe on the next, if definitely close it this week, maybe next week I'll do the numbers and stuff for it. Okay. But I wanted to give you an idea of how I bought this facility and what's going on in the market right now, trying to buy it, because a lot of people are dropping out of like the property, the property game, right? Trying to find deals is it's too hard to find deals. I just saw like a big guy posting out, like, I haven't bought anything in the last year. I'm like, man, I bought like 6 deals in the last year. But the reason why is because I'm able to pay cash for these deals. That's why. And the people, the person that posted out, he only goes to banks. That's it. Only goes to banks. He does not do any owner financing. He doesn't believe in seller financing. He doesn't buy anything with cash. He likes to leverage his money. He's like, oh, I want to leverage it. Well, guess what? You can't leverage right now with the bank. It's not working, right? But the truth is like, if you don't have cash, or if you don't know how to raise the money, or if you're not even just offering seller financing, you're missing out on some amazing opportunities out there. So you have to understand and know all of this in order to be able to buy storage right now, because it is very, very difficult. Now, somebody was asking about, I just wanted to really fast show you on the owner financing, right? When you talk to an owner, okay, when you talk to an owner and you're going to be making an offer, right? The thing that I remember I said, the monthly payment. My stomach is growling. Oh my gosh, I haven't eaten all day. And then let's see, the monthly payment, and then also the length of the loan. And the interest rate, the down payment, the balloon, amortization, and let's see what else. But so like on our, have you guys, I don't know if you guys have checked out the deal analyzer. So I offer my deal analyzer for anybody to purchase. Okay. And inside the deal analyzer, this right here, what I'm showing you right here, this is basically what we call financing inputs. All right. The financing inputs is where you get to play around with all the different types of financing scenarios out there. On my deal analyzer, we have like 5 different ways for you to run numbers, and you can actually you can do a drop down and you can change it. You can run the numbers cash, you can run the numbers with SBA, conventional, owner financing, all kinds of different ways of running the numbers. And so, you want to make sure that you have something like that, whether or not you use my deal analyzer or something else, you want to be able to run your numbers in different kinds of scenarios. So we do that on my deal analyzer in the tab, it's called financing inputs, right? These financing inputs that you're putting into the deal analyzer, basically what it does is it creates your offer letter. So inside my deal analyzer, you have a way of making an offer letter. Now, you don't have to use my deal analyzer to even do your offer letter, but the offer letter looks like this, right? It'll say like, dear blank, thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to put this offer in, at your address. We've ran the numbers several different times, and this is like basically what we've come up with. And then the way that you put the numbers into the financing input basically generates your offer letter. Your offer letter is going to look like this. Okay. So And the letter says, like, please take a look at all the different offers. We've created 4 different offers for you, and you can see, you can just check them all and see which one is like what worked the best for you. And also just know that this is also up for negotiations. So if you can think of a different scenario that might work for you, just let us know. We are open to talking and discussing with you any type of scenarios that you can come up with. We buy a lot of deals in this way, and you know, so, and we meet with owners on a regular basis. So if you are looking at what I'm showing you and you're thinking, yeah, this sounds like something I might want to do, but I would change this, this, and this, then just let us know and let's hop on Zoom and let's discuss it. Right, so that's kind of what the letter says, and then when we send the offer over, that's what the email says as well too. And I'm going to tell you, I meet with owners on a weekly basis. Okay, so it looks like this. So it'll say just like this. This is the offer letter. It says cash, and then it says you know, bank financing, and then it says owner financing. Right, and then you will have actually 4 different offers. Okay, you could have 4, you could do you could have 2 owner financing deals, a bank financing deal, and cash, you know, however you want to set it up, right? But really, bank financing and owner financing are exactly the same. Exactly the same. All right. So it doesn't really matter what you call them. You just put it like, you just call them whatever you want at the top, right? And then these right here are what are here. So you have the monthly payment, you have the length of the loan, you have the interest rate, you have the balloon, the down payment, the amortization. All right, and you're basically just spelling those out right here. It's like a table, essentially. It's a table. It's a table that's offering 4 different offers at the same time. Like, you don't ever want to just send over an LOI for one number. I get LOIs all the time, you know, and it's just like, I just don't understand the whole LOI concept. This concept is what's going to get your wheels, the wheels of the owner turning, right? When you send them over an offer letter that has 4 or 5 different offers on it, that's what's going to get the wheels turning, not an LOI for one number and that's it, and it doesn't show anything else, right? They're just like, okay, do I want to take that number or not? Okay, so you want to make sure that you're creating the conversation that happens. That's what you want. All right, and then down here, this section right here on your tab, this is the most important part of the deal. And this is the profit for each deal. It's the profit to the owner and the final number total. And that's what you're putting in these. Okay, so we show, not only do we show like what they're making on a monthly basis, what the interest rate, what the length of the loan is, what the down payment is going to be, what the amortization is going to be. We also show them how much money they're going to be making. That is the number that they're going to want to know. If I pay cash for this, it's $1.4 million. I'm going to be making $1.4 million. If I get a finance, I can't pay $1.4 million because the numbers don't work. The numbers don't work at 1.4. I'm going to have to pay $1.1 million. That's where the numbers work right now. So it'll see, this is like, sorry, this is the purchase price at the top. It always says purchase price. Right, so I'm going to pay $1.4 million cash, but here, if I'm going to that same property, if I went to a bank and got a loan, I would not be able to pay $1.4 million for it because the numbers don't work. Because remember, I'm running the numbers right at 10% down the interest rate, so that brings the number down to $900,000. If I'm going to go and get an SBA loan, if I'm going to get a convention loan, I could probably pay $1.1 million for this property. Okay, and actually, I'm sorry. So and then actually, yeah. So and then, but if you, so I would say like, okay, it's 900 grand here. It's $1.1 million here. If I went and got conventional, let's do conventional here. Let's do SBA here. Now, if you owner finance this deal to me, I'll pay you $1.6 million or whatever it is, 1.5, 1.6. We always pay more money if it's owner finance, because we know that interest rate is going to be 5%. Right? Whereas cash is nothing, and the interest rate here is 10%, and the interest rate here is 8%. All right. So I'm okay with paying more because I know my interest rate is going to be a lot different, is a lot lower, right? And then you can show that if you owner finance this, you owner finance this for 10 years, right? You're going to make another 350, you're going to make 400 grand or something like this. Okay, so you're going to make 400K if you owner finance this. In total, you're going to make $1.9 million on this deal. Okay, so you're showing that in this table is what you're doing, right? Whereas over here, you're only going to be making 900K because that's it. We're buying it for 900K. And here you're only making 1.1 because that's it. The bank is going to make all that money. So you're not making any money on these two deals. In cash here, you make the $1.4 million. So you kind of show that in a table. The deal analyzer, our deal analyzer does this for you automatically. All you have to do is just print the letter out and then just hand it over to the owner. But the truth is you could create your own letter and do this yourself. Essentially, you're just coming up with a whole bunch of different ways to make offers. Right. So I always tell everybody, make, a cash offer, a bank financing offer, and then a couple of owner financing offers so that you're getting the wheels turning on the owner for the owners. You're getting the wheels turning and they're like, oh, wow. Like if I do owner finance this thing, I could make a couple $100,000 more. Right. And so that's really how we get a lot of those owner finance. And sometimes a lot of times this doesn't work out, and they say, no, I just want the $1.4 million cash, which is basically what the guy said that we're buying from. Right. And but you want to try and show them this because it is your job to educate the owner on what his options are. Because the owner's options in his mind is one option: sell it and make money on it. Right? It's just like sell it, just get the one thing. But they don't understand, a lot of them, I'm saying most do not understand these concepts. Okay. So yeah, so this is basically what we did for the one that we're closing on tomorrow. We sent the offer letter over. We just ran the numbers in the deal analyzer and put all the inputs in, right? From here, you put all the inputs in, and then in the end, we came up with an offer. And a lot of times it's like, maybe it was like 1.1, maybe it's 1.2, $1.3 million. And he came back and he said $1.4 million or whatever it is. Okay, so we negotiated that. But these are all financing inputs that you are running numbers on in order to create your offers. And this is what your offer letter is going to look like. Let us know. And then Stacy. And you send this over to them is what you do so that they can, decide if they want to work with us. I'm telling you, I call this the magic offer letter. Okay, that's what it's called, the magic offer letter. You guys can all do this to yourself and create this yourself, or you can just go to my website, which is stacyrossetti.com. You can buy my deal analyzer and it will just create this for you when you're running your numbers. And then also with my deal analyzer, there's a whole bunch of videos that goes with it. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process of filling it out. If you are having trouble trying to figure out how to analyze self-storage, I highly recommend that you get my deal analyzer, because that is going to really walk you through how to analyze deals. That's really what it's for, is to analyze the deal for you. And it has like green is a good number and red is not a good number, right? And it kind of shows you on all the different financing inputs that you do, this number is not going to work. These deals are not going to work. You have to change the numbers and stuff. Okay. So, but anyways, So I was going to just say real fast. Yeah. So you want to go to stacyrossetti.com. Rossetti.com. And that's where you can get the deal analyzer. There's a link right there. Analyzer. Okay. It's, I think it's like, is it 3.0 or 4? No, it's 4.0, I think. We've upgraded it 4 times. Okay. And then if you want to go through the course, you're more than welcome to buy the course, which is super simple self-storage. Super simple self-storage. Oops, self-storage. Oops. There it goes. Self-storage. Okay, this is the course. Somebody asked about the Facebook group. The Facebook group is called Super Simple Self-Storage. Okay. If you can join the Facebook group, get the course, get the deal analyzer, and then come to these Wednesday sessions, I call that the triad, is what I call that, right? That's like course, deal analyzer, the Facebook group, and then the Wednesday trainings. If you can get all 3 of these, I'm telling you, within the next couple of months, you'll be rocking and rolling. In fact, I just got like a post. He was like, "Hey, Stacy, I bought a couple of deals. Thank you so much for your course." I was like, "Yes, thank you so much." So I'm gonna try to get him to come on and talk about it. He's like, "I went through your course. I got your deal analyzer." He's like, "I'm buying my second storage facility right now." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." So 2 S's. Stacy Rossetti. 2 S's, 2 T's. Okay, Stacy Rossetti. It's right there in the corner of the video as well, too. Okay, so Stacy Rossetti is where everything's at. And then let's see what else. I had a couple of other questions. The deal analyzer does not come with the course. No, it doesn't. It's separate. Okay. And then these are live sessions, just so you know, these are live. So you have to show up, to get, to learn. I record them, but I give them to my students and storage nerds. So if you want like a coach, just check out Storage Nerds, storagenerds.com. Okay. That's where like I'm coaching and holding your hand and stuff. You want to do that if you want to do that. Okay. And anyway, so hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of all of the financing inputs, gives you an idea of like how we run numbers overall visually. Like this is what I'm thinking when I get a deal, when I find a deal. I'm like, okay, what's the best financing terms for this deal? Am I gonna have to raise money? Am I gonna try to get the seller to finance? How am I gonna do that? And then what are our offers going to be? So that's basically what I walked through, was like raising money, running different scenarios of financing terms so that you can make the offer. That was the purpose of today's training. I do these every Wednesday. Okay. And you can hop on every time as a new session that you can hop on and listen to. When raising privately, how long are the investors in for the rise? It could be any time. It's a year. Typically, I do two years plus, but like my investors are 5 years typically. All right, but you could do whatever feels comfortable for the investor. What do they feel comfortable with? You know what I'm saying? Like if they only want to do a year, are you going to just pass them up because they only want to do a year? No, I mean, then you're just like, okay, like let me borrow your money for a year. Let me figure out like how I can get you your money back in a year. What is the word to the left of the pyramid? This Wednesday's training, the Wednesday training is what it is, right? Wednesday's training, the course, the deal analyzer, and the Facebook group. That's my triad. That's the Stacy Rossetti teaching, self-storage teaching triad. Okay. Okay. All right. I got to go on. I got to meet an owner right now. It's 1 minute. Okay. All right. Take care. I'll talk to y'all next week.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.